Ektai, the echo of silence. The monastery sat cradled in the curvature of the ancient mountain, veiled in morning mist that shimmered like gossamer threads spun by unseen hands. It was a place where the world hushed its cacophony, where silence became a living tapestry draped over the rough-hewn stones and weathered timber. Here, amidst the timeless tranquility, walked Elias, a singer of psalms whose voice had once soared like a lark's over the harmonious echoes of his brethren. But now Elias's song had faltered, turned into a whisper that reverberated like a gentle caress against the monastery's cold, unyielding walls. Not long ago, the shadows of loss had descended upon him, veiling his heart with a quiet sorrow that even the dawn's gentle insistence struggled to breach. He awoke each morning before the stars relinquished their dominion to the approaching light, drawn from restless slumber by the whispering wind that coiled through the narrow passes outside. It was a sound like no other, a hymn of the earth itself, unfurling with each breath of the mountain, and Elias found solace in its presence, leaning into the cadence of its eternal song. In the sanctuary, light pooled slowly, a tender tide that ebbed through the stained glass and pooled at the altar, painting the simple stones with hues of gold and crimson. Elias stood at its threshold, pausing as if on the brink of revelation. There the light transformed into something sacred, a visible mercy that reached out to cradle the weary and the wandering. He approached the altar with a reverence born of ritual, listening for the resonance of the divine within the silence. The air was thick with the scent of aged incense, sweet and musky, mingling with the crisp bite of mountain air that slipped through the cracks of the monastery's heavy doors. The altar was a juxtaposition of simplicity and grandeur, its carved wood worn smooth by generations of seeking fingers. Yet it sang silent hymns of comfort, a beacon in a sea of uncertainty. Elias wrapped his hands around the rough, familiar surface, as if anchoring himself amidst tides of grief. He breathed deeply, the air seeming to lift the weight from his chest with each inhalation. Outside, the wind sang its eternal hymn, weaving through the ancient pines that bordered the monastery grounds. It carried with it the stories of a world beyond, the laughter of distant streams, the rustle of hidden creatures, and the whisper of leaves in prayer. Listening, Elias felt the thread of his own lost song, weaving into the tapestry of the morning, an unseen cord drawn tight around his heart. With a tentative breath, he began to hum, the sound almost imperceptible at first, an echo of his old self that flowed from deep within, a melody forgotten but not lost, the notes intertwined with the wind, lifting his song as softly as a feather caught on an updraft. It rose higher, soaring above the peaks, mingling with the dawn's first light until it became one with the whispering sky. As if in response, the light surged forward, a crescendo of warmth and brightness that washed over the altar and spilled onto the stone floor like liquid gold. It was as though the dawn itself had answered his call, a promise of renewal woven into the fabric of each new day. The embrace of hope, Elias stood at the confluence of light and shadow, feeling the warmth seep into his bones, softening the rigid coldness that grief had left behind. He closed his eyes, surrendering to the embrace of hope that unfurled within him. The wind quieted, as if listening, holding its breath in reverence for the reborn song. With each note Elias stitched together the scattered fragments of his spirit, binding them with the threads of morning light. And in that quiet sanctuary, amidst ancient stones that bore witness to countless dawns, he found his voice, a voice that carried not only sorrow, but the promise of joy, not only loss but the whisper of new beginnings. As the day unfolded, Elias lingered, letting the light pour over him like a benediction. The world outside the monastery remained vast and untamed, a wilderness of the unknown, yet within the walls, the air was alive with the hum of life renewed, a testament to the enduring power of faith and the unyielding embrace of a new dawn.